Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. This is Sports by the Book here at the South Point studio. I'm Alex White, filling in for Jeff Parles today. Kenny White in studio for the entire hour. We've got a lot of baseball to get to, 15 MLB games on the board. There's also some minor league, and that is why I'm wearing this polo here, because the Aviators are back. Our homestand starts today. And then you might have a little college football for us.
Yeah, I do. I'm definitely going to have some college football. Glad to be here. Excited. We had a great week last week. It was really fun going downtown to Bet Bash at the Circa. Chris Andrews, you interviewed Chris, and I got to see a lot of people. It's fun. You work with these people throughout the years, but you don't really get to spend a lot of time with them. And I told Nick Bogdanovich, I want to start getting invited to those Tuesday lunches.
Very good.
He said, no, you will be.
How was the Hall of Fame dinner?
It was very good. Very long. It was long, but it was a lot of fun. You know, a lot of the stories I'd heard already, but hearing them again is always fun. And the one thing that people have to realize, and I think all of the inductees all, thank their wives for being patient with all the time that they put in, because there's a lot of hours. No matter if you're a handicapper, bookmaker, odds maker, professional sports bettor, it's a lot of hours.
It is a lot of hours. I am learning that.
Now.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, it was a great event. Spanky, I'm very impressed. That's the first time either of us have gone down there.
Yes.
He's done a fantastic job putting that together. I'm sure that is a lot of work for him as well.
Oh, it's got to be. Yeah, that's and they've been, right on it with the emails and everything. I've already sent an email out. Survey, how was Bet Bash for you? So that was really quick to send that out yesterday. But it was extremely well run and a lot of fun.
Unfortunately, if you weren't there in person, I don't think there's any video because you got to pay to be there. You don't get to see Chris Andrews or Vinny's panel or the panel that I was on Friday. But so that's just a little tidbit to plan ahead for next year. Make sure you get there because there was a lot of great information there at Bet Bash. We're going to hit our starting five. I feel kind of bad. I'm just doing 1/3 of the baseball games here, but these are the best games on the board, in my opinion. We're going to start off number one. NL Central, tightest division by far. Cardinals, 7.5 games back from Milwaukee. Reds, 9.5. They're really starting to make a little bit of a push here. Cincinnati takes game one, 6-1. Erik Fedde on the bump for St. Louis against Hunter Green and the Reds. Right now, this number, Reds, -130, 9 under, was the opener. It is down 8.5 over, -115.
Yeah, big matchup. You mentioned both teams, and both these pitchers are red hot right now. Both guys throwing extremely well.
Number two on the list, sticking to the National League, the Dodgers get Mookie back, and they win 5-2 with Kershaw on the bump yesterday. Today, they send Gavin Stone to the mound against Colin Ray and the Brewers. Top of the Central versus top of the West. Dodgers -122 on the road. Total 9 under, -115.
Yeah, always a big series when you have two teams leading their division, but the Dodgers right now starting to get healthy. I think Walker Buehler's going to start rounding into shape a little bit better. Was sent back down to throw a minor league game, threw well, back up now tomorrow. As you mentioned, Mookie Betts back. Kershaw starting to kind of round into form as well. This team's going to be very dangerous down the stretch.
I am excited to get your thoughts on the NL in general. There's some teams that really pop out there to win the NL pennant, but how good this Dodgers team is, their roster, the power rating. Curious if you think there is a shot that another team could win. Number 3 on the list, really good pitching matchup here in San Diego. Yet the number doesn't really say that. We have Luis Ortiz and the Pirates versus Michael King and the Padres. San Diego, 2-1 win yesterday. Padres now -220 at home. Total under, -115.
Yeah, maybe the second best. I don't know who's going for Seattle today. I thought George Kirby's going. If he does, Kirby versus Skubal's the best pitching matchup of the day, but the second best right now would be King and Ortiz. So, and that may be number 1 because we still don't know about Kirby.
Then that is number 4 on the starting 5, hoping that it is George Kirby because this would be a home revenge game. These two just played, both started the same game. Skubal got the win and the Tigers in that one. And they're the favorite here, -115 without knowing for sure if it is Kirby who gets to start. Total is 7 under, -115.
Yeah, I think that line is set for George Kirby, basically in number. When I look at my numbers in this game, pretty close to that because Kirby's rating is just so high. And as I've mentioned several times on the show with you, that I like Seattle. I think they're an excellent baseball team. So I think that number is just about right with George Kirby pitching.
That makes a lot of sense, right? If it wasn't and it was Tarek Skubal on the mound, they would be a lot bigger favorite here at home.
Yeah, Skubal, obviously one of the best pitchers in baseball. 2.57 ERA, 0.93 WHIP. That's for the entire season, over 143 and a third innings. So, yeah, that is big. So, yeah, I'd have to definitely say that. Well, looking at my numbers, actually, I shouldn't say that, Alex. I've got Seattle. Seattle hits lefties extremely well, and Detroit's lineup is kind of decimated. So I do have Kirby a much bigger favorite over Skubal. So maybe it is somebody else besides Kirby today.
All right, we might have to keep an eye on that throughout the show. Number 5, both technically in the AL wildcard race, third in their divisions, defending champions Texas Rangers, and the most surprising team this season, at least in my opinion, the Boston Red Sox. Boston wins game 1, 5-4 in extra innings. Jose Urena on the bump for Texas, and Cutter Crawford for the Red Sox. Boston minus 145, total 10 to the over.
Yeah, you think Cutter Crawford's parents wanted him to be to be a pitcher? First of all, Cutter Crawford, great name for a baseball guy, and he's lived up to that. Has pitched well over his last 3. It's had a nice season, not a great season. Jose Urena probably I'd have to say he's got to be in the running for comeback player of the year. Urena had been atrocious his last 3 or 4 years. I mean, it was like batting practice, but he's responded well for the Rangers this year. 3.74 ERA. If you go back and look at the numbers, I'm telling you, over the last 3 or 4 years, his ERA was probably in the 7s.
We'll get to that one very shortly, probably in about 25 minutes, a little bit farther down the board. 917 rotation number right before those interleague games. But we're going to go back to the top and really break down all of these games. First, a shout out to everybody who is watching. Thank you for being with us today. If you're in the chat, Keith will let us know if you have anything that you want us to hit on more. And yeah, thank you.
Do you have any good jokes? Keith would like to hear those too as well. So
we'll leave that.
Send in your best joke.
The comedian.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, we're going to start off at the top. Miami Marlins, Phillies here in this one. Now, I don't know if we do have our starting pitcher for Miami yet, but we know Taijuan Walker is on the bump for Philly. Anything jump out to you in this game here? We've got Philly minus $2, total sitting at 9.
Yeah, I have Valente Balazo in for Miami. Young guy, really good stuff. Has pitched well in his 20 innings in the big leagues so far. We'll see if he goes or not. The Phillies have been reeling. This happens. Listening last week when Frank had Mark DeRosa and Denny Nagel on, and DeRosa said it, and this is such a true fact that's why baseball is tough to bet. 162 games. Every team's going to have a stretch that they play poorly for maybe 20 to 30 days. And every team's going to have a stretch where they play above what their chances are of winning a game 20 to 30 days in a season. So Philadelphia getting back to home is going to be good, but I never like to bet a team on their first game back at home after a long road trip.
And that's a pretty big price there for this one. Phillies, though, I mean, they have a pretty comfortable lead in the East here, 7 games above the Braves, which we'll get to the Braves and how you're feeling about them and their shot of making it to the playoffs.
Hey, that is a great point, Alex. That's one thing I tell people when you're handicapping any sport, you need to look at the standings and see how far ahead a team is. Teams that have a big lead usually start to coast at a while. And this happens in the NFL where there's only 17 games. The Kansas City Chiefs could be up by 4 games after 10. They will coast. They will start to lose some games because they start to feel comfortable and that they have such a big lead. I think that's happened to the Phillies right now, and that's why they've gone on this little run, because you know what? Once it goes bad, it starts to go bad. Hitting is contagious. Everybody's hitting or nobody's hitting, and I can think that's the way it has been with the Phillies. But I don't trust them today. Taijuan Walker has not pitched well. I expect him, though, to get better. Look for this guy. He's got good stuff. He's an above-average big league pitcher, but he's not there yet. Maybe this is the day he does turn it around. If he does, I would look to maybe back him on the next couple of starts.
Very good. Okay, we're going to go to our pitching matchup that I highlighted in the starting 5 here with Erik Fedde and the Cardinals up against Hunter Green and the Reds. I do just want to mention, I mean, I said the Reds have look like they have figured some things out. 6-4 in their last 10, but they won 3 of 4 against the Marlins, 2 of 3 against the Cubs. They lost the Giants series and the Brewers series. So, I mean, really, that's kind of how they've been all year long. They are 58-61, right there below 500. But they did steal game 1 here. They won 6-1 yesterday against Sonny Gray, too. Anything jump out to you in this one? Is this a good spot to jump in on the Cardinals?
I love Erik Fedde. I actually sent out an X on X, and I said that who's going to get Erik Fedde? This was 3 weeks ago, the Yankees or the Dodgers, because those are the teams that get the best players. And I really felt that Erik Fedde was the best available pitcher in the market, and the Cardinals were the team that went and got Erik Fedde. And he didn't pitch well his first game. If you just look at the numbers, pitched against the Cubs, wind blowing in. I had the game under. I watched, and he threw one bad pitch and give up a 3-run home run, lost his focus, and give up a home run right after that. He doesn't throw the one bad pitch and he gets out of the inning. He probably allows 1 run in 7 innings, but he allowed 5 runs in 4 innings. So a big difference when you just throw one bad pitch. And Fedde made up for it, won his last start. I watched him throw in Vegas as a high school kid. I watched him in college for 3 years. I watched him in the Cape Cod League. Erik Fedde is a true professional. As a teenager, he was a true professional and knew he was going to make it to the big leagues because he had one of the nastiest sliders in the country as a high school pitcher, and he still does. He's one of the best sliders in the big leagues, and his fastball runs in on righties and his slider runs away, and he is really difficult to hit. And I put him in one of the top 50 pitchers in Major League Baseball right now.
Right now, the Cardinals plus 120 if you like them on the money line right here. Or would you prefer maybe going first 5? It's tough, though. I mean, Hunter Green has been very good as well.
Hunter Green's been fabulous. And, I made that case, and, people watch him and think, well, I got to go jump on the Cardinals because Kenny's so high on Erik Fedde. But Hunter Green is – I was that high on it because I know the young man, and I know what type of person he is. And I've watched him pitch so much. But Hunter Green, if I had watched him, I'd be bragging about him as well. And his numbers are tremendous. Last 3 starts, opponent's batting average 163 or 183, something in that range. It's in the low, put my glass on, 183 over the last 3 starts, a 1.03 whip on the season. So the pitching matchup is even. Reds at home. I have a little bigger advantage because of Hunter Green and his home starts. So it's about a pick 'em game for me. I just don't think there's enough value taking plus 115. I'd like to have a 25-cent difference to make a bet. So I'd need to probably get, $1.20, $1.25 here.
Okay. Moving on to the Dodgers and the Brewers. We talked about this a little bit in the starting 5 as well. Dodgers win game 1, 5-2. I didn't really get to watch and see how Kershaw looked because I know he struggled a little bit since he's been back from that injury, but clearly it was enough and he had the offense to back him in game 1. Looking at this one, Gavin Stone against Colin Ray. I know Colin Ray has really struggled as of late, and that is why the Dodgers are a small favorite on the road. Minus 110.9 in this one for these 2 pitchers.
Yeah, Colin Ray's had a great year for the Brewers. Sometimes it gets late in the year. You get a little bit tired. The weather starts to warm up too, obviously, in July and August. That's what the hitters want. Pitchers don't like to see that warm weather. They'd rather pitch in cold weather. Gavin Stone, I really like this guy. He has been a top performer for the Dodgers. I think it's, pitching matchup's pretty about even. The Dodgers have an advantage offensively in this game. I did make it $1.46. Okay. If you jumped on the opening number, I saw some 115s yesterday. I didn't bet it. Don't like to lay money on the road on this time of the year, but it's been bet up to $1.27.
It is really interesting, and I know that you look at all the metrics as well, but I was looking at their splits here, both of these pitchers. Gavin Stone's one of the most consistent pitchers with home or away. Dodgers are 6-4 in his road starts. And then on the flip side, Colin Ray, 3.68 ERA at home. Team is 6-2 in those games with his starts. But he's given up more home runs in Milwaukee. So I don't know if that would be a good chance to find some player props with the Dodgers lineup going up against right here.
Yeah, my numbers, I only came up with a 7 on the game because I like the way both guys have pitched. And I think the Brewers lineup right now is struggling a little bit. Dodgers do get Mookie Betts back, so I haven't raised their offensive rating yet because I like to get a guy back in the lineup 3 or 4 games that I know he's then really back to his level of play. So I'm looking at the under in this game. Haven't bet it under. What's that?
He hit a home run yesterday. He's almost back.
Yeah, no, that's true. So under 9 here is a play for me in Milwaukee and LA.
Okay, very good. Colorado Rockies, Arizona Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks, one of the hottest teams since the All-Star break. And you did tell me a few weeks ago, this is the best time. You find the teams that are hot and the teams that are struggling, and you want to back those teams. Well, it's a pretty big number here, minus $2 for the Diamondbacks in this one. With Eduardo Rodriguez, he finally had his first start back coming off of his injury. We expect him to just get better and better in this one. Total 8.5 over minus 120.
The Diamondbacks are getting healthy with the pitching. Merrill Kelly back, Eduardo Rodriguez, and this team is playing really good baseball. I think this is a team to take a look at to make some noise in the playoffs. They've done it before. They have the experienced players on the team that had been there for this team. I don't like to lay this type of price. Anybody that laid the price on the Yankees yesterday is, licking their wounds today. I just thought I saw that price open $3 and go to $3.15, and I thought, who in the world would lay $3 on a baseball game? Anything can happen. I think the price is low here. It was bet down from minus 245 to $2, but I think you'll see that go back up. But I'm not interested in laying a price, and I think the total is right there.
While we're here, and I'm sorry to jump around, but looking at those numbers there with the NL pennant, I did see the Diamondbacks are still 10-1 to win that. I saw 12-1 at some other shops.
I like that.
That's one team I was going to ask you about if that is worth a bet on, even with the Dodgers getting healthy and playing the way that they have been playing.
Yeah, it's going to be a race to the wire, but 2 things have to happen for the Dodgers. Kershaw has got to get back to his form, and Walker Buehler needs to get back to his. And if that doesn't happen, and Arizona's guys do show up, I think the Arizona starting 5 is better right now than the Dodgers.
Okay, that might have to be a bet I make later today. We're going to go to the next game here with the Pittsburgh Pirates and San Diego. We talked about this being a really good pitching matchup. Michael King, minus 220, though, at home. Total 8 under minus 115. Don't you think that's a little steep here with having Luis Ortiz on the other side? I know the Pirates have struggled as of late, and these two just played a series against each other, and the Padres did sweep them.
Yeah, 8-game losing streak. That's a revenge factor. You were swept at home. There are people I've talked to that do like to play the double up system and also take the 1.5 along with it, because some of the Pirates are going to compete. They're going to play, but it's hard for me to back a team that's lost 8 in a row. I like to go against those type of streaks. I didn't make it quite that high, even factoring in the 8-game losing streak. I only made this game 171. But I made the total 6, and it's because of the pitching in this game. And the Padres offense really hits lefties much better than right-handers. Luis Ortiz has been very good. Michael King has had a great season for the Padres. So I think 8 runs, this is one of my plays of the day that I went under 8.
Padres 12-3 in their last 15 as well. Have to bring that up. They have been just as hot, if not hotter, than the Arizona Diamondbacks, so it is tough to go against a team when they're playing that well. Is this Dean Hilt comment in our chat recent, or is that old, Keith? Is Dean Hilt in the chat, or is that an old comment? Okay, it was about the Little League World Series. So,
is there betting on the Little League World Series?
Yeah,
in faraway places, yes, there is.
Not here in Nevada. Atlanta Braves against the Giants. I already talked about it. Braves win 1-0 in 10 innings. We've got Charlie Morton on the bump against Kyle Harrison in this one. Pretty much a pick 'em. Giants minus 107 at home, total 8.
Yeah, a nice win for me yesterday. I only had 2 sides yesterday. I like the Astros. They win 6-1, and first time I think ever I could get plus money on the best pitcher in baseball, and that's Chris Sale right now. He's pitched better than anybody for the entire season. So taking 105 with him was a nice play and a lucky win to win 1-0. And the Braves are a team that I still have the offense rated very high. They do hit lefties especially well. The bats are starting to come around. Charlie Morton's always a guy that I can rely on. He's going to give you his 5-6 innings and keep you in the baseball game. So I do like the Braves again today. My price on this was $1.77. I think it's awfully cheap at 107. I think that price at 107 is more built in for how the Braves have played as of late. I think they're 9-14 since the break.
I do want to ask you because Charlie Morton coming off of his worst start of the year, 8 earned runs in 2.2 innings pitched on 9 hits against a really good Brewers team, though, that has been really hot, especially offensively. We've been doing a lot of do factor, though, ERA and WRC plus. So is this a do factor for Charlie Morton here in this game?
Well, his other couple starts of his last 3 were right on. So after even factoring that start in, puts him right on track to where he should be. So I always love betting on pitchers after a bad start because that's all that's all Charlie Morton's been thinking about for 4 days now. And he can't wait to get back on the bump to make up for that start. So he'll be ready today.
Should be another great game between these two really, really good baseball clubs. Looking at Seattle and Detroit, talked about this home revenge here. I hope it is George Kirby, but we definitely know it's Tarek Skubal on the other side, -115, total 7 under -120.
Yeah, not a lot to talk about with not knowing if it's Kirby. If it is George Kirby, sign me up for Seattle. This guy's the best strike thrower in baseball. 16 walks, 138 strikeouts. And talking to you, I think I mentioned maybe the last time that they're able to show the pitcher's release point of all the pitches they throw, and George Kirby is the closest of any pitcher in Major League Baseball for all of his pitches, his slider, his fastball, and his cutter, that it's released from the exact same spot.
Makes that very tough for the batter.
Very, very tough for the batter to tell what it is.
I like that one as well. If it is George Kirby, I will be on the Mariners today. Should mention Tigers did win 6-2 in Seattle, but I like that even more for the revenge factor there. Houston Astros, you brought it up. They won 6-1 over Tampa Bay yesterday. Today we have Kikuchi going up against Shane Bass here. Houston -134, total 7.5, juice to the over.
Kikuchi's always struggled on the road in his career since he's come over here to the big leagues, and I don't trust him away from home. I would back him probably every time he pitches in Houston now. For some reason, he's struggled on the road. I still made him a bigger favorite, factoring in the 6-game winning streak. I had $1.21. I had 5 cents for every win when they get to a 3-game winning streak or more. So I added the 30 cents to his number, made it 151. Came out 127's been bet up to 134. I think it's the right price. Not interested in laying that price though on the road.
I don't blame you at all. -134 here on the Astros. But the Astros have been playing very good, and that is one bet that I was upset that I did miss because we were talking about them winning the West when the Mariners had the lead. I know you do like Seattle a lot, though, and now they have pulled ahead a little bit, just a half a game above them. Or do you believe in this Red Sox team, though? Do you think they could make a push? I believe they are the next one in. They're behind the Royals to get just 2 games back to get a wild card spot.
I don't. I think they're going to, in the long run, miss out. But you never know if teams are playing together. They can make things happen that are not supposed to happen. So, in baseball, it wouldn't surprise me. But as talent-wise, right now, my numbers say they're going to be on the outside, looking in when the end of the year ends.
And I just jumped ahead because that is Texas and Boston going today, and I was already asking about the Red Sox. But in this one, we talked about it as well. Urena on the bump for the Rangers and Crawford for the Red Sox. Red Sox -145, 10 in that one.
Yeah, and Urena, as I mentioned earlier, comeback player of the year for me. The guy was just batting practice for 3 or 4 years, and funny because the start of his career he was tremendous. He looked like he was going to be a great major league pitcher, but then just kind of fell off. But this year he has picked it back up. He's been tough. I have the Rangers a better hitting team, far better on defense, and bullpens are about even. So I make this game closer to a pick. I haven't bet it yet because I did see it go up $1.37, $1.45. Don't mind going against the move, but if it's going to move and it's going to keep moving, I might as well let it go as far as it can. So I may take this later on in the day. If I can get $1.35 or more, I'll probably be on the Rangers, but I'll look for $1.40.
Really interesting. I don't think the Rangers have a shot now to jump up and make it into the playoffs. Coming off from that outstanding year and great playoff run to win last year. But now, Corey Seager and some of their guys are really starting to hit. Might just be a little bit too late in the season, wouldn't you say?
Yes, because it's 9 games under 500 right now.
Yeah.
They are going to really have to turn this around. They're going to need a 20-game winning streak to get back into it. That just doesn't happen every day. So they will play. I think I still think they'll compete, and the guys on this team will start to hit, and I think you'll see maybe some higher scoring games in Ranger games.
Is this normal, or does this happen often with teams missing out winning, especially in baseball? Would you say that sport it happens more often than other sports? A team wins the World Series and then misses out on the playoffs the next year?
It can happen in any sport because, first of all, the celebration in the off season, and you start to think that you are all it, and you may not work as hard where everybody else is working that much harder. And then you get to the start of the season and you've got a target on your back, and everybody's focused when they play against you. So it does make it a little bit more difficult. You really have to be, under the leadership of a Bill Belichick, a Pat Riley in basketball, and those type of coaches. They keep their guys at an even keel because it's professional sports. Don't let them get too high. Don't let them get too low, and make sure they're prepared every year to be ready to compete.
Might as well throw Andy Reid in that mix as well.
Andy Reid's
now going
another
for
one.
3 in a row.
Phil Jackson was another, great coach that his teams played. Coach K in college basketball.
Yes.
That he was the one that most surprised me, or not surprised me, impressed me of any coach at any level in any sport. Because the Duke Blue Devils never let down. They were always prepared if they played Army or Bucknell, and I feel like they played the same way as if they were going to play North Carolina. So he had them prepared day in and day out to really perform.
It is pretty impressive what you can see these coaches and getting the players to really want to run through walls for them. Let's go ahead and move on to this young Kansas City Royals team with Seth Logo on the mound against the Minnesota Twins. Twins take game 1, 8-3. Matthews gets the start here. This is the Twins' second best pitching prospect. They are a $1.23 favorite at home, 8.5 over, -115 in this one.
Yeah, Matthews, an 8th rounder in 2022. He has a right-hander. He's got great size, 6'5", 225, so throwing downhill. Good fastball, really good slider, and very good command of both pitches. His changeup is his weakness right now. He develops a great change, and he's got to be a chance at being a number 3 or number 4 starter in the big leagues. So
your numbers, you do have them as a $1.31 favorite, so that's just right on track with what the book has. Total sitting at 8, so no value or edge here in this game for you. Kind of just a watch and see. It is a shame. We know Joe Ryan is out. Relief pitcher Brock Stewart out for the year as well. Joe Ryan should come back, but this Twins team was just starting to play really good baseball. They've been pretty consistent all year, but really making a push now here. And I know a lot of people who actually had bet on them to win the division and to pull that off, but now dealing with injuries like we see happen with a lot of these teams.
Yeah, it does happen. Pitchers do get injured a lot, especially in the big leagues. For some reason, I don't think they throw enough. That's a story for another day. This Twin team, though, offensively, I can count on them as one of the better offenses in the American League, and their bullpen's been outstanding. So if they're healthy with the pitching rotation, I think they pass the Cleveland Guardians and end up winning the division.
I just wonder, and I don't know if you have this answer, kind of putting you on the spot. Is this when they wanted to have Matthews make his start here in the bigs, or is it kind of rushed because of the injuries now?
Well, that's a great question. He was at Double-A to start the year and had 10 starts at Double-A. Was outstanding with his command. Less than 1 walk per 9 innings and 10 strikeouts. Moved to Double-A to AAA, and normally everyone struggles once they're moved up to a new level and there for the first time. But Matthews was even better, a half a walk per 9 innings, and still over that 10 strikeout mark in four starts. To me, that guy's ready for the big leagues, and I think this was the right time to call him up.
All right, we will see today. That should be a good game there between the Royals and the Twins. Moving along, we've got 5 more games on the board. We'll hit this next, and then we'll take a quick break and before we do the last 4, and then we will get to some college football. New York Yankees and Chicago White Sox. You brought it up. White Sox win 12-2 yesterday over the Yankees, but here we are again. New York -$3, total 9 over -125. Nestor Cortez and Jonathan Cannon will get the starts for these two. Not the best pitching matchup, and I think we are seeing that with this high total at 9.
Now, the Yankees, they walked into Chicago and they thought, well, we're just going to roll onto the field and the game's over. We won. And they were surprised. The White Sox bats came alive. And as I've said, hitting is contagious. White Sox do have some good hitters in their lineup. And this price I thought was too high. I only made the game $1.68, Yankees over the White Sox. Cortez has not been great this year. ERA 4.42, his xFIP 4.22. So I've got him rated as a slightly above average big league pitcher. And Jonathan Cannon at home, his numbers have been very, very good. 6 innings, 1.15 runs, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. Excellent command. He has pitched extremely well in his home start. So I give him a chance again. I go right back at it, and White Sox, I'll take that big price for a half a play.
How about the pride and the embarrassment factor here for the Yankees, though? That's what kind of keeps me off of this big number. Maybe White Sox first 5 to hang in there, and you have Jonathan Cannon, who's pitched well at home. But ultimately, with this lineup, and they got Stanton back, I just worry that
I don't mind the White Sox bullpen. I think they're decent enough. When they're winning, they're much better. You go back and look at their games when they've won. Their bullpen has pitched very, very well. When they've lost, their starters have given up runs early and they've fallen behind. And then the bullpen didn't do their job, trailing 6-1, 7-1. So their overall numbers don't look great, but the guys they do use when they're winning games can get outs late. So. Is there an embarrassment factor when you play 162 games? Yeah, they probably walked away last night and said, "Where are we going to dinner?" And well, we got the White Sox tomorrow. We'll win the next 2. They're already thinking they're going to win the next 2. I think they'll be in for a battle. I'll take the 1.5, 2 plus a price here in this game.
Okay, very good. Good stuff there. We'll be right back. We're going to take a quick break, kind of regroup. We have 4 more baseball games on the board, and then we're going to get to some college football. Don't go anywhere. This is Sports by the Book here at South Point Studio.
Once you've satisfied your hunger, get ready for more of the hottest casino games in Vegas. Our 24-hour, 30-table non-smoking poker room proudly hosts all the most popular poker games with a variety of betting limits. Visit the poker room for a schedule of daily tournaments. Whether you're going to hold 'em or fold 'em, the best place for poker is at South Point Casino. You'll notice that our craps tables are usually the loudest in the casino. If you've never played, join one of our free craps lessons to find out what makes this game so exciting. Check with the craps dealer for schedules and give it a roll. Bingo is also an exciting way to spend your time. We offer 7 sessions of bingo every day. And each session includes a cash ball jackpot, 12 bingo games, a progressive double action game, and a $10,000 bonus coverall. Electronic units are available. If you haven't played bingo with us, give it a try today. Guests can also get in on the action at our one-of-a-kind race and sports books. 2 separate rooms designed to maximize your experience and comfort. Our sports book, with over 400 seats, puts you right in the middle of the action, 24 hours a day. The friendly ticket writers are happy to help, and it's conveniently located next to the famous Del Mar Deli, where you'll find supersized portions of delicious deli items like roast beef, pastrami, and Reuben sandwiches, or soups, salads, and pizza, plus spectacular desserts fit for a king. And right next door is the race book, Over 150 seats, each with its own TV screen. There are 16 interactive player terminals, so you can bet right from your seat.
Here we go. Welcome back in. This is Sports by the Book here at the South Point Studio. I'm Alex White, filling in for Jeff Parles. We have Kenny White at the desk, going through all Major League Baseball games. We're going to hit on some college football as well. Before we do that, we do have some new social media pages. We ask that you please subscribe or like or follow, depending on which platform it is. But you can find us at Sports by the Book, and then on Instagram at Sports by the Book LV, which ties in nicely with our Aviators connection here. So,
and I think people don't realize subscribe, it's free. But what you're doing, you're helping the show out. The more subscribers, the longer the show stays on the air. And that helps everybody. So subscribe, like every day. You don't have to subscribe every day, but like it every day.
That would be very helpful. And you're right. And a lot of people think they're going to get a bunch of notifications every time, but you don't. You
get nothing. No. You just, all you're doing is supporting the show.
So hit that button. We appreciate you all for being with us. We're going to hit these last 4 baseball games and then get to some college football here. If you can't tell, I'm pretty excited to get to the college football. So first up on the board, Toronto Blue Jays, LA Angels. Not the best pitching matchup either here. Kevin Gausman goes for the Blue Jays and Carson Fulmer on the bump for the Angels. Blue Jays minus 113 on the road, total 9. Just to the under a little bit, minus 115.
Not so fast there, but the pitching matchup.
Okay.
Kevin Gausman's got really great stuff. He really does. When he left Baltimore, I predicted this guy would win a Cy Young. I think his stuff's been that good. He's had 4 or 5 really good years since then. This year, for some reason, I think he's been a little unlucky. I still have him rated as a really above average big league pitcher. On the road, this is his numbers, his median numbers in his road start. 6 innings, 5 hits, 1 walk, and 5 strikeouts. 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. He's been great in his road starts this year. I think he's really tough. And, Carson Fulmer was an outstanding college pitcher. One of the best in college baseball. He's never lived up to that level and as high as a draft pick that he was. But I think he's had a decent year, 3.74 ERA, a 1.2 whip in 67 innings. And he's only allowed hitters a 2.04 batting average in his last 3 starts. So I think this will be a tough game. I like it under the total of 9.
Looking at this team in general, I'm sure he hasn't got a whole lot of run support because, the Blue Jays have had a down year, and we've been used to them the last few years really being in the mix for the playoff run and everything, and just 85 WRC plus in their last 3 games.
They were sellers.
Maybe that's part of it.
Yeah, no, they were sellers at the deadline, and they kept Vladimir Guerrero, though. They knew that's the guy they want to build around. And on the year, though, a 109 weighted runs created plus number. So they have had a very good season, but they are not hitting right now. Neither are the Angels. Angels over the last 3 games, an 87 weighted runs created and 85, as you mentioned, for the Blue Jays. That's why I like the game under 9. Under
9 here in this one. Going to the Washington Nationals and the Baltimore Orioles, Trevor Rogers on the bump for the Orioles, minus 170 if you like him. Jake Irving on the other side for the Nationals, total 9 in this one, under.
Regional rivalry game. Rogers did not pitch well in his first start for the Orioles coming over from Miami. And I talked to you about that last week and my experiences playing the game and picking up a former teammate of mine that came over from Idaho Falls to Salt Lake. He was hitting 200 for Idaho Falls, and he couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat. But once he got to Salt Lake and a new atmosphere, Chuck, he was a tremendous player for us. Ended up hitting 340, was an all-star, and had a great season. So this changing of teams really helps guys going from a team who has nothing to play for to a team who has playoff implications. So I think you're going to see Rogers pitch much, much better in this one, but kind of a regional rivalry for me. I really don't have that big of difference between the offenses. Like a Baltimore 25 cents better, bullpen's better, but starting pitching, boy, Jake Irvin's has been as good as anybody, I think, all season. 3.76 ERA, 1.12 ERA, and a guy that this is his normal start. 6 innings, 5 hits, 2 runs, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. That start is going to keep Washington in this game, so I'll take the price with the Nationals and I'll play them in the first 5 innings as well.
So there will be an opportunity to back Trevor Rogers here now with his new team in Baltimore. And when you say this is a good club that he could land at, and
yeah, Baltimore's got they got a chance to win the East, and they're going to be battling the Yankees, I think, right down to the wire.
But even working on his mechanics and things like that, this probably better than the Miami Marlins right now and what we're seeing.
Well, yeah, and again, there's 20 ways to say one thing about pitching mechanics, and the way you say it could click with a pitcher where your previous pitching coach wasn't saying it the right way and it wasn't clicking for you. So the pitching coach in Baltimore may tell him the same exact thing, but in a different way, and he may say, "Oh, gotcha," makes that one adjustment, and now all of a sudden, instead of missing the corner, he's hitting the corner, and that's going to make such a big difference. I think he'll pitch well, and I mentioned how well Jake Irvin's pitching and what we know we're going to get out of him. So I'm also going to look at the under, and I think under in the first 5 would be a good spot here because I think Rogers will pitch much better in a second start.
Okay, looking at the Nationals with that plus price and that under in the first 5 here. Going to Cleveland, Chicago Cubs and the Guardians. Guardians win 9-8. So they've been hitting finally. I mean, they were struggling there for a minute, but the Cubs, they've been playing very good baseball as well. 7-3 in their last 10 games. Now we have Matthew Boyd on the mound for the Guardians, coming off of that Tommy John surgery. Haven't seen him in quite some time. He has done a few rehab starts in multiple minor league affiliates, including AAA, where he had a .83 ERA, 27 strikeouts over 21.2 innings. Looking at this number, though, minus 147 and the total 9 flat.
Yeah, this is you set it up pretty good for Cleveland, but again, I just don't have Cleveland's offense rated that high. I kind of thought they did it with smoke and mirrors a little bit. The Cubs have been on fire lately offensively, but it's interesting to me this series, the Cubs decided to sit Kyle Hendricks, their veteran right-hander, instead of Javier Assad. And if you look at the overall stats for both pitchers, you'd say it's a no-brainer. You got to sit Kyle Hendricks. Assad's having a great year, a 3.24 ERA, but if you dig a little deeper and you look at what these two guys have done over their last 8 starts, Hendricks has the better numbers. He's the steadier guy. He's going to keep him in the game. I think I have overrated Assad in this start, and I gave him just a slightly above average rating. But I think the Guardians will hit him. And, I'm passing on the game, but I think that we'll see what Boyd has, but I think this game could end up being a pretty high-scoring game. My number doesn't reflect that, but again, when I talk about this, my power rating sheet is 80% math. It's all about the numbers. The other 20% of handicapping is a science and a feel for the teams and the players in the game. And in this game, my thought process is that both these teams are going to score runs in this game because you watch, Assad has not been as sharp. Hendricks is the better pitcher right now, and he should have been pitching.
Yeah, I've been backing Hendricks and watching him. So yeah, I am kind of shocked now to hear that. Going to our very last game, we've got the Oakland Athletics and New York Mets. I don't know if we have a definite starter. Is it Russ? Not yet. It might be Ross Stripling here for Oakland, but it is Paul Blackburn going up against his old team, but now pitching for the Mets. Minus 175 at home, total 8.5 flat.
Yeah, his numbers gotten out of hand a little bit. I love when pitchers go against their old team. Again, my numbers make it $1.70. I'm going to add 25 cents to Blackburn because he's pitching against his old team. He's going to want to show them. And this guy was an all-star with the Oakland Athletics. He was an all-star pitcher. So he's pitched well in his return this year from a couple of injuries. I think he throws a great game here. I thought he should be about $1.95. He is you can find $1.70 out there at some spots. It is $1.75 here at the South Point. It almost being inclined to laying a run and a half with him, or just betting him maybe minus a half in the first 5 innings, because you get your full complement of at bats when you're betting the first 5 inning number. So yeah, I'd lay a half a run with him in the first 5.
I like it. The Mets is another team I wanted to bring up for the NL pennant here, and I don't know what their number is. I believe it's double digits. I have that sheet right in front of you too, if you need that.
Yeah, I'm looking at the standings because it's
yes.
It's football season. I don't know if you've heard, it's coming up here shortly, and I still cover. I'm betting AAA baseball every day. That's my main focus is on that. I could tell you the Round Rock team's record quicker than I could tell you someone else, Major League Baseball team's record.
I don't know if quicker than Matt Neverett right there, though. This would be
62 and 48 Round Rock. So, it's hard to, when all these sports come together and people are like, why are you so busy? Football hasn't started yet. Well, I'm still trying to get all my teams finished. I'm working on FCS because that has become more prominent on the betting board in the last 5 years. And more places are putting up. They put every single game up the entire season. When people first started to book the FCS, they would only put up FCS versus FBS.
Right.
That was it. And then you're done. But now they put up every FCS game. So every week, Montana State, all those teams are on the board. Sacramento State, Portland State. So I'm handicapping those because I think it's an untapped market. So a lot of work. Let's look at this. Let's finish the baseball. You wanted to talk about the Mets?
Talk about the Nets in the National League, who have been slipping a little bit as of late. They were one of the hottest teams coming off of the break. But
yeah, 3-game losing streak and 4-6 in their last 10. But they're only 8 out, and the Mets know the Phillies and Braves have not played well, so they're 1 behind the Braves to make the playoffs. I think the Braves' chances of making the playoffs was almost 50% going into yesterday. The Mets got to be close to that. They got about a 50% chance to make the playoffs. And that's all you have to do in baseball. Just get to the playoffs because the best teams never win.
Well, it'll be interesting down the stretch. Definitely some tight races coming to an end here. But I think this is the best time for baseball and jumping in and seeing these teams really make a push here. But you brought up football. We're going to switch to football. And I do want to ask you, just from a macro sense, now that we have the 12-team playoff, there should be a lot of opportunities in some of these non-con games leading into the conference, right? Because some of these smaller conferences are trying to really make a push, and now every game is more important for each of them.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I'm not sure how much it changes because they only play 12 games, so they're college kids. You normally get their best effort week in and week out, and that's why I love betting college sports more than professional, because professionals have look-aheads and they have letdowns and they don't show up in certain games. It does happen in college, but at a less frequent rate. So I love that anytime we have change, I love it. The transfer portal for me was outstanding because I individually rate each player and come up with a power rating that way, and that helps. But you get a change into more teams into the playoffs now. More teams now, you're right, will be ready to start the season. So you always get blowouts, though. I just talked about the FCS, and I went back and looked, and the last 5 years, I think laying 20 or more on an FBS team at home against an FCS, you're a 60% cover. And that's, what happens is, and I've seen it over the years because I'm always an underdog player, that my team's in the game, they're in the game at 7-7 after 1, or I'm winning 10-7, taking 29, and I'm feeling great because my team's up 3 points, and then at halftime it's 21-10, and then after the third quarter it's 35-10, and then it's 56-10. And their worst 2 quarters was the third and fourth quarter. So, a lot of those games you want to maybe look to, back those teams early. But
what about this, though? What about the fact that it is a longer season? It's a longer playoff rush.
Yeah.
They don't need any injuries, right? So maybe they will kind of surrender earlier, take out some of their starters, get their second string in there earlier.
You're giving these coaches a lot of credit. I have never seen that in my life. These guys don't know when to pull their starters. They're nervous Nelly up 3 touchdowns against Podunk U. So they have no idea when to pull their starters. 56-7. Okay, we'll put our second string quarterback in. So they just don't do it unless they're way, way up.
The other thing is they're not fighting for 4 spots where they need all of the.
They still can't do it, Alex. They can't do it. It's not in their DNA. Their DNA is
just get that win.
We got to win, and they fear if I am up 3 touchdowns and lose this game.
Right.
I will be grilled. So they do not even want to take a chance on that. They have to have I feel like 28-35 is or on the average coach starts to put in his second string.
Well, let's go to a coach, and I believe he called himself the transfer portal king, and that is Dabo Swinney. And you like Clemson this year too.
Why is he the king?
I don't know. I'll have to look it up exactly the word for word.
Well, because
the transfer portal.
You know why he's the transfer portal king? Because he doesn't believe in it, and he doesn't go after players in the transfer portal. He didn't like it, didn't want it, doesn't. He likes to have guys for 4 years. But when you say transfer portal king, to me it sounds like Deion Sanders should be the transfer portal king because he brings in all the players. So Dabo doesn't believe in it. He likes to have his guys for 4 years or 5 years when you're redshirting a kid, and rightfully so. This is a very good football team. Last year they lost a couple of games that they should have won. I looked back at my book, and my box score final had them winning the game, and it was because of turnovers, and they outgained those teams in those games, and turnovers will cost you. And nobody can predict turnovers. When I say that, people say, well, Michigan's playing Montana. Michigan's going to win the turnover battle. Of course they are. The point spread's 42. I have to put a price on it though. The turnovers are 2.5. Michigan minus 2.5 turnovers. They're going to win the turnover battle. But we know that. But in a game that's pick 'em, nobody knows. It's a coin flip who wins and loses that turnover battle. So Clemson was unlucky last year. They are one of my biggest improved teams for the year. I've got them 10 points better this year than I had last year. I think Cade Klubnik in his second year is going to be very, very good. They've got a one senior running back coming back and a bunch of young freshmen that are really good, but he's got 4 of his top 5 wide receivers. I think Clemson's defense is outstanding. They're going to battle Florida State in the ACC to win that conference. So
looking here, Chris Andrews and company has the regular season conference wins up. Clemson is 6. Juice to the over minus 125. I don't know if you've really looked at their conference schedule that closely, but 6 is second highest. Florida State is at 6.5, and someone else I thought I saw maybe he had 6 at. A lot of 5.5s in the conference. So. Yeah, and Louisville's at 6. Louisville is at 6, and I think Louisville is very good as well. I don't have them on my. I brought you today 7 improved teams. Okay. Louisville probably would end up being my 10th most improved because they had brought in a new coach with Braum last year, and they did well. Normally with a new coach, you regress a little bit because you're rebuilding a team and you're bringing in new systems on the offense and defensive side. But Braum did well, better than expected last year, so I expect him to have another really good year. So I'll let you go through those 7 teams. So not necessarily best bets for those teams just yet, but just keep them on your radar. Yes. Potentially maybe looking at their win totals or their conference. Yeah, and some of these maybe, other people may have obviously, have seen the same thing I did and have already talked about these teams being improved. Cincinnati with Scott Satterfield, he came in, did a very nice job with this football team last year in his first year. He's got a sophomore quarterback who had 7 starts at Indiana last year, Brendan Sorsby, and I like him, looks good. Cincinnati has improved, I think, offensively and defensively under Satterfield. So, we know that Luke Fickell did a great job there. It took Cincinnati to the championship, and they did have athletes. But when he left, most of the talent left too. They were an average football team last year when Scott Satterfield got them. They're going to be a little above it. They're going to be a 104 in my book to start the season. So
he has improved them. One of the most improved teams in the entire country will again be the talk of the town last year, and that's the Colorado Buffaloes. Deion Sanders knows how to recruit. He knows talent, and he knows how to motivate them, and that's why the Buffaloes were so good last year. Now, people were asking me to make numbers on their games after they got off to such a great start, and I told everyone they're overinflated now, and their lines offensively and defensively are not deep. So if they get any injuries on either side, it's really going to hurt. So he has improved that depth. Last year I started him at a 96.5 rating, which was 16 points better than the previous season. They went to as high as a 104. I had to continue to raise their rating, and then injuries started to hit the team left and right. They ended the season at a 92.5, and that's because Shakur Sanders was not in the lineup. He was worth 6 points, so I really ended him at a 98.5. I have them a 108.5 to start this year. And again, I think because Deion, I think he'll, get this team to play a little bit, even better than that. Don't think they make the playoff this year. I think they make the playoffs next year. That's how much improvement he has shown. Mississippi State in the SEC, Zach Arnett's a guy, a good coach. Last year, he had a transition, and the team did not play as well as they should. And, I expect that to happen with new coaches. So this year, I think he's got his systems in place and brought in a couple of good players. So Mississippi State, I have 5 points better. One of the biggest teams, improvement-wise, Oklahoma State. And when I said that to you, you're like, what? Oklahoma State's improved? I said, I started them last year at a 104.5, Alex, and I ended the season at 106.5. I'm starting 2024 with the Oklahoma State Cowboys, a 118, 11.5 points better than last year. Alan Bowman's back. He was 2 years at Michigan. I think he threw 3 passes, and he was the starting quarterback at Oklahoma State, and he put up tremendous numbers. He is back to run Gundy's offense, and they have everybody back on both sides of the football. They got a great offensive line, a great defensive line. Oklahoma State is going to be outstanding. Utah, Cam Rising makes the difference again there, out all of last year. It's so crazy, too, because I think every week he was questionable to play, and he never played. But he is back this year. He raised the rating himself 6 points. Their tight end is back. They brought in a transfer from USC, Dorian Singer, who is at his third school in 3 years, because 3 years ago he was an all Pac-12 player at Arizona. And now he'll be on the receiving end of Rising's passes. So they went from a 110 to a 118.5. They won the Pac-12  2 years in a row. Before last year, I think they're going to, definitely be a very competitive team. Back them at home in conference games against other Big 12 teams, because these other Big 12 teams have never been there before. And it's a really, really good atmosphere for the home team. And they will get all of the calls in their direction.
The other thing I love about Utah and moving to the Big 12 is that fits with more of Kyle Whittingham's style of play, right? It's going to be a lot of the line of scrimmage. It's going to be tough games, where the Pac-12, it was a lot of offense, not such great defense. So some teams could really score.
A lot of good
them.
offense in the Big 12, though. I mean, that conference, opened it up too as well.
Yeah.
I think you're really thinking more Big 12. Or I'm sorry, Big 10.
Big 10.
Big 10.
Yes, like
Big
Iowa.
10's more of a smash mouth conference because of the weather in that area. You've got to be able to be built to block and run the football.
Yeah, you're right.
The
So
Utah
kind
would
of
have
in the
fit better
middle
there. Yeah, he'll do well here. Now, Kyle Whittingham's a great coach, so he'll do very well here. He's not going to abandon the run. They will run the football well. Good offensive line, and it's just a well-coached team. I mean, I'm going to add 2.5 points, I'm sure, to their rating after their first game, because it's Kyle Whittingham, and I don't want to bet against him. And my last one to give you is Wisconsin. I mentioned Luke Fickell. Stepped into the Badgers last year after being at Cincinnati and being extremely successful there. He got his shot. The team I started them a 112 rating. They ended the year at a 104.5, but that was because of injuries. They started the season well. Their starting quarterback got hurt. Number one running back was out. A couple guys on the offensive line. Best wide receiver got hurt. Then their second string quarterback got hurt, and things just unraveled. They still finished 7-6. I think Wisconsin has the third longest streak of any college football team of having a winning record. I believe it's like 22 or 23 straight years. I know it's a big number. But Luke Fickell had the talent there. The injuries they had the team fall apart. I think he's brought in more talent. I think his system, again, is locked on both sides of the football. They're going to be way better next year, but this year, much improved. I have them a 115 going in, 10.5 points better than what they ended last year.
Oh, can you run through that list for us one more time?
Yes, Cincinnati is going to be much improved. Scott Satterfield, Clemson, probably maybe one of my biggest improved teams. I have Clemson in the range. Clemson's going to make the college football playoff and have a shot if they improve throughout the year to win the college football championship. That's they'll be there. Now they'll be an underdog against Georgia, but they will battle Georgia. And if they have the confidence, and as I said, if they improve the way I think they can, they'll be less than a touchdown underdog in that football game. Colorado, Deion has this program going in the right direction. They're well above average football team now. And again, next year, I think if he does the same thing he did this year and brings in the talent he brought in and he keeps the talent around, Colorado will be a team that has a chance to make the college football playoff. Mississippi State improved from last year. They'll be better. Mike Gundy's team at Oklahoma State, probably the biggest improvement of any team in the country for me because they have so many returning starters and a lot of talent on both sides of the ball. Utah, Kyle Whittingham, Cam Rising is the big difference there that he's back. And then Luke Fickell with Wisconsin. He brings in Tyler Van Dyke from Miami. And when I saw Tyler Van Dyke play 2 years ago for the Hurricanes, I said, this guy's going to be a professional quarterback. He's going to play in the NFL. But the last 2 years he struggled. Yep. I hope the change of atmosphere brings that talent back.
I love it. Appreciate it so much. We do have some people in the chat. We've got JR here, or Johnny from the ballpark, who is one of our regulars. KM, I don't know who that is, but we appreciate having you. And Keith Lyle, of course, in there, who does like Coach Prime as well, and Colorado going into this year. So thank you. Great stuff, as always, baseball and college football. And when we have you back in here in a week or two, we can really dive into these conferences, see if we have any plays, over or unders. And we can also...
Hey, you know what's great? I don't get yelled at for going over 10 o'clock. So, I mean, hey, you got 5 minutes. Let's go. Cut it off.
It's very nice, the no time. There's one more in the chat with Dean Hilt. I don't see it, though. Question for Alabama?
Well, Alabama's out. I have Alabama in my top 5.
What does Mr. White think of Alabama?
Yeah, I have Alabama in my top 5. I have Jalen Milroe, the number 1 rated quarterback in college football. Just looking at my putting my stuff together yesterday for another show, and yeah, Milroe number 1 with Dylan Gabriel number 2. Carson Beck, Preston Stone is a name not many people know from SMU, is an outstanding quarterback, got a great arm, and then Quinn Evers for Texas. So quarterback's the driving force. So Alabama, yeah, right there with Georgia. Georgia had the best team in the country. Alabama, number 2. Ohio State, number 3.
And if you don't mind, could you put up those odds to win the Heisman Trophy that we see right there? That's funny. I was looking at the Jalen Milroe at 12-1, thinking that was a pretty good bet.
I like that. Milroe, big, strong kid, has improved his passing, averaged 10 yards per pass last year, 67% completion rate, only threw 6 INTs in the year. And we know he's got great speed, and he's a great runner at a quarterback. So, that's, I think, good value. He's my number 1 guy. So at 12-1, I will bet Jalen Milroe myself today.
What about, is it Travis Hunter? Yes, I'm saying that right?
Yes.
On Colorado.
Yes.
2-way player.
Yeah. Oh, what an athlete. Yeah.
Would he have a shot?
He's worth he's worth the most to the betting line of any non-quarterback in college football. He's worth 3 points to the betting line.
Was Brock Bowers the same last year, probably?
Yeah, pretty close to that, because I did have Bowers rated the highest tight end by far, but they had a couple other good tight ends at Georgia.
Okay.
They had a second string tight end could have been an All-American, so they had strength backing him up. But yeah, Bowers was probably 1.5 points, maybe 2. Deion Sanders was the highest non-position player ever in the NFL for me, because he did so many things, could return kicks, and his covered as a cover corner, number one in the NFL. So he was worth almost 3 points a game. Dion was. Now he's got a guy on his team that's that valuable.
Yeah, it must have been worth quite a bit if you still remember that.
Oh, no doubt about it. Yeah.
Well, that'll do it for us today here on Sports by the Book. Again, we have new social media handles. If you would please follow them at Sports by the Book, on Instagram at Sports by the Book LV. We appreciate you guys. We'll be back here tomorrow at 9 a.m. Don't be late. And then today at noon, you've got Matt Neverett and Frank Nicotero here for Punchlines. I will be back with them tomorrow as well. Thank you. Appreciate you always coming
Thanks
in.
for having me, Alex. I think the show at noon is going to be funny.
It usually is. It usually goes very well. Everyone in the back, thank you so much. Drew Doug and Caden and Jerry. Keith over here. We'll see you guys tomorrow. This has been Sports by the Book here at South Point Studio.